Good afternoon, Sam and Emma. This is John from San Antonio.
John from San Antonio. Now, buddy, listen, we're a little bit behind. I apologize to everyone. We want to know, we want to hear from you, but I got to put you on a little bit of a clock today.
Okay. So we're 56 days until the election. And, we're getting close to Election Day when polls are frequently dropping and polling averages are constantly being rearranged. This just happened less than 5 minutes ago. I haven't had a chance to update, but I will after the call. Agree with the assessment from Sam yesterday. It's an extremely close election bordering on a coin flip. Put a lot of time into evaluating and predicting elections. Had a good year in 2022 with while many other forecasters didn't do well in senatorial and gubernatorial races because Republican pollsters flooded the zone with biased polls, while I dismissed them more than most forecasters, I still gave them too much credence in my opinion. Right now, Harris, I'm giving Harris an average of about a 1-point lead in certain swing states, higher than the consistent picks. That doesn't include Nate Silver and his insane current forecast. There's no doubt that Trump has gained in swing states since my last call last week. I still have Harris leading in all swing states, but Trump has gained in all of these states except for North Carolina, where Harris has gained, and in Georgia, where the results have stayed the same. Here the Harris leads with mostly the amounts that Trump has gained in the last week. In Pennsylvania, Harris leads by 1.6, down by 0.9. North Carolina, 0.6, up by 0.4. Georgia, 0.1, which is the same as it was last week. Michigan, 1.9, down by 1.6. Arizona, 0.2, down by 0.6. Wisconsin, 4.1, down by 9, or 0.9 rather, 0.9. Nevada, 0.7, down by 0.7. So my theory about this being the closest race for the trifecta in the history of this country is taking a blow because of an objective poll in the Montana Senate race as Republican candidate Tim Sheehy with an 8-point lead, which countered a 5-point lead for Democrat John Tester from the very biased Republican pollster Scott Rasmussen. My polling average now has Sheehy up by 1.8, with three of the last 4 polls coming from the very biased Republican pollsters. The next tipping point state for Democrats is the Florida Senate race, where Democrat Debbie Mercosal-Powell is down to Rick Scott by 3.8 points. Emma had a good interview with Luke Goldstein about the Nebraska Senate race, where independent Dan Osborne, who was a registered Democrat until 2016, is running a fairly populist economic campaign, is only down by 1 point in the last objective poll. The only thing I'd quibble with is Osborne says if he wins, he'll be a free agent. They hear offers by both parties, and I don't know if that'll happen. The most likely scenario is if Harris wins and Tester loses and all the other races turn out as expected, Republicans will have a 50-49 advantage and will control the Senate if Osborne doesn't caucus with either party. He'll be under tremendous pressure to caucus with Democrats who won't be able to appoint judges or pass any meaningful legislation without him caucusing with the Democrats. In that scenario, his decision to caucus with the Democrats will totally change the balance of power.
John, let me ask you this. Let me cut to the quick on that. If you were him and you were running in Nebraska, what would you say?
Well, it depends on if he wants to actually uphold his values, if he really truly has democratic
values. What would you say 3 months out from or 2 months out from the election? I'll tell you what I would say. Exactly that. If I'm running in Nebraska,
same reason Tester's running, criticizing Biden.
I'm gonna be a free agent, and I'll see what happens. You know what happens with free agents? They get signed. That's what happens with free agents. All right, John, let me, I want to, there's a couple of things I want to get to here. Okay.
Okay.
One, I said coin flip, and I actually said coin toss or vice versa. Okay. I can't remember now.
Two Pinocchios, John.
But I don't want that. I'm not going to harp on that. All right. What happened 5 minutes ago that you said that you needed to update? So new polls came out?
Oh, there's just some. Yeah, new polls came out from Redfield and Wilton. But yeah, they're they're supposedly objective pollsters, but they actually lean Republican. They're like one of the most prolific pollsters, and they're actually they're British pollsters, and they're paid for by the Telegraph, which is a conservative organization.
Let me ask you this: back in the day, the big idea was like, you don't want to demoralize people, and so you're fighting over the validity of the polls and this and that, and people would go, and still we have people like going to great length unskewing the polls. I've seen people try and unskew the New York Times poll and this and that. Hey, are you aware of any data? Like, it's one thing I could say, like, I don't want people to think that I'm 25 points down, because then, nobody's going to donate and this and that. But in an environment like this, where the polling goes back 1 point, 2 point, this and that, does it have the impact that people presume, or is things so marginal that you just do it anyways in terms of like spinning? Like, I wonder, like, the idea of Kamala Harris being down a point may be more motivating than the idea of Kamala Harris being up a point, even though, like, we're not the happy warriors or whatever.
Yeah, I think it can be taken two different ways. One is, you don't want to say that you're really down, because that'll actually make people think, well, if they're really down, then what's the point of even voting?
Right.
And so, like, if you're down by 5 points, you want to say that, this is what Colin Allred does. He puts a poll up from like last February and says that we're tied. And, he doesn't consider, like, what's the average of polls, and, which is, if you know anything about that, what's actually going on in the race, you say it's very disingenuous. But if you don't... How
is he doing in that race? How is Colin Allred doing? Is there any chance?
I don't think he has much of a chance.
Okay.
I mean, the only good thing is that the better quality polls have him closer, but I mean, there's still, like, 3.5% with the better quality polls, and with some of the lesser polls, it's like 6 to 7%. And so, yeah.
What's going on with Tester? Is Montana just like impossibly right wing, or what's happening there?
Well, I mean, like I said, 3 of those polls are Republican polls. So, like, there's only been 3 objective polls since late February, early March.
But yeah, you went off of your it knocked you off of your, this is the closest trifecta in history. Yeah,
well, I mean, if that's the way it's going to be, I mean, if there's going to be an objective poll where Tester's down by 8, then yeah, Democrats are going to have a really hard time of winning the Senate. Unless, like I said, Osborne, some caucuses with Democrats, if he feels, I agree with your point that, like, he can't do that, but I mean, is he going to actually go with his values, or is he, because if he wins and he caucuses with Republicans, he can probably stay as a Republican senator, incumbent Republican
for the rest of his life,
many elections, right? For possibly the rest of his life.
If he does it, he's one-termer.
Right. Because he's also said some things about, like, he's a union guy, but he's also said some things about being a libertarian, and I'm like, that's a bit of a contradiction there. Yeah. And so it's like, I want him to win, definitely, and I want him to, like, be a populist, but I hope he does, and I hope he does caucus with Democrats, and gives them some kind of chance, but. Yeah, I mean, Republicans right now, with, the top forecaster from 2022, they have a 60.4% chance of winning the Senate. Yeah, I mean, Democrats have a 61.2 chance of winning the House. I have Democrats up by 2.6 as far as winning the generic ballot. And so, they're looking pretty good for the House. It's just right now, consensus is around 54, 55% of Harris still winning. So I mean, yeah, it's super tight. It's I mean, definitely going to be looking forward to the debate tonight. One thing I'm going to be looking at is how she's going to respond. You've talked about this quite a bit to her when she was a progressive and her stances on supporting Medicare for all, anti-fracking, Green New Deal, and how how that will happen. Because if it was a more skilled debater, I would be a little bit more worried about it. But you also have to think about, the voting public is so bizarre now with Trump and their, cult-like
well, we'll see.
feelings towards him. Yeah, and so yeah, that's going to be one of the things I'll be looking at.
Yeah, I'm going to read one IM letter hack. Writes in, John, unlike Sam and Emma, I would never put you in a time crunch. You don't need to keep leading MR on. It's time to move forward without them.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Well, John, I assume you're going to be on the letter hack tonight.
No, I'm not going to be on tonight. But,
okay.
But I will be in future weeks.
Wow. I guess. Okay. All right. That's all right.
Yeah, in future weeks I will be.
Well, I guess letter hack is busy. That's all right. Hey, he's got other things.
We always have time for you. We even squeeze you in when we go long.
Yeah. I mean, even though we were clock running, I was like, priority. Priority is John. But I guess letter hack doesn't feel that way. It's not a big deal. I wouldn't worry about it.
No, I mean, because he gives me 2 hours.
Well, maybe, but I mean, really, it's about frequency sometimes. It's about quality over quantity sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been calling to this. Yeah, I've been calling to this show for 10 years.
Right.
So,
I mean, I
appreciate that.
That type of, we all appreciate it. A lot of people appreciate you, but
we get that the honeymoon phase is over, but just show us some more respect.
I guess letter hack has got, more important things
Leave us
to
some
do.
dignity.
That's all right. Okay. Well, John, we will talk to you next Tuesday. Also, incidentally, and I'm not going to ask you to confirm or deny. In fact, I don't want you to. But there's a rumor you may be around election night. But that's it. We'll just leave it right there. I just want you to know that there's a rumor. John from San Antonio, always a pleasure.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks, John.
That's a rumor that's going around.
I'm curious, just to add quickly some thoughts to that, how the Montana abortion measure is figuring into the polling in this area. Also,
there's no way for them to assess, I think.
It's also such a small state population-wise.
Yeah. What the model is for how many people are going to come out. I mean, I would imagine in a smaller state, the implications of an abortion measure are going to be less, right? Because you just
get less yield.
You just don't have, you're going to have less yield, but I'm saying as a motivating, if you motivate an extra 10% of voters, it doesn't necessarily mean that much, because I would imagine people are going to vote. We'll see.
Well, she needs to come out in favor of marijuana legalization in Florida, where abortion and cannabis are both on the ballot. And Trump has come out. I mean, it's disingenuous. I don't think he'd try, but he's come out in favor of it. So maybe that's that's a pretty slam dunk issue where she could differentiate herself on Biden, who was insane about that.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.